You'll notice it says this webinar is being recorded. Nancy has dropped down in the chat. FA1, preparing your program for a review. So that's what we're going to be doing today. I'm Stuart. I'm with Acorn Learning. Our tagline here is where Head Start goes to sustain positive change. So Acorn Learning is our website. We're helpers. We've been helping Head Start programs for about 15 years. And the spirit of this webinar today, free webinar, is in the spirit of helping, that I'm imagining, guessing, I'll even say assuming, that all of you have FA1 in front of you at some point. So I've introduced myself briefly. I'm joined by Beth. She can unmute and introduce herself.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Beth White, and I'm the Executive Director for Luzerne County Head Start, and I'll talk to you a little bit later.
Thanks, Beth. And then also with us is Nancy from Acorn. She's a support person. Her main role is to help Beth and I succeed. And if you have questions, comments about anything at any point, please drop it in the chat, and Nancy will catch those and make sure that we are doing a good job. Opening today with the agenda for the webinar. I'm going to do some very quick housekeeping. I'm going to talk very briefly about the FA1 review process. This is not going to be a webinar about what that is. This is going to be a webinar primarily focused on Beth sharing her recent experience going through the FA1 with her agency as the director. That's where we think we'll have the most value. So she'll share. We'll talk about some resources and other things related to that process. We'll share what's happening through Acorn Learning at the end, so you're aware of all the professional development opportunities, and we'll be out of here all together well before the top of the hour. So we're scheduled for an hour. We'll probably wrap up before that. This is being recorded, so Nancy will provide you with the deck and the link when this is all over, just in case you can't finish it or make it. The live captioning is turned on. You are all muted. There's a short survey at the end. We'd really appreciate you if you take it. And then this is supposed to be interactive. So having attended many webinars, I often have it on while I'm doing something else, just kind of keeping one ear on it. I really encourage you to ask questions. Beth is graciously volunteering her time and her story. So she's the one you get to ask anything to. What was it like? Do drop those in the chat at any time, and between the two of us, we will catch those and respond to them. Here's our disclaimer. It's the information shared today is going to be some of me sharing about what some of our Acorn partners and clients and customers have experienced. And Beth, notice what I put in bold. The content is intended as peer-to-peer support. So this is my disclaimer to say, we're not telling you what to do and not do. Beth's sharing her story, and there will be value in that. Rebecca, I'm going to catch that in just a moment. Beth, look what, I don't know if you're looking at the chat, Beth, but I just shared that with Beth yesterday, is several of our Acorn people are getting the new letter, and the new letter is Program Systems Review. I'll talk about that in a minute, but Rebecca, I'm really glad you dropped that in the chat. I don't think you're alone. There's one thumbs up. If you got that new Program Systems Review letter, go ahead and put a thumbs up under Rebecca's chat. I'd like to get a count of how many people. Yep, there they go. All right, let me say this. This is a really important line. Beth and I talked about this briefly. Whether they have changes to Program Systems Review and or its FA1, getting your agency ready for that is still the same thing. They're still coming to say, are you doing Head Start the way we want you to Head Start? So I will address that, but we're in good shape here today. Very quickly, just so we don't operate with any assumptions, let's get a take on where you are. A poll's coming up on the screen. Please read it very carefully and make the right selection for your agency. And this is going to help me and Beth kind of know who's in the room. We have 40 of you in here, and we have 33 answers so far. And just in case people are not tracking this, I'll give you another 10 seconds to answer. All right, I'm gonna close it and share the results so you can see your cohort. Everybody can see it? Give me a thumbs up. That says yes. So 5 of people just had it. The majority of you, 25 people, it's coming up. So we kind of figured that. We got somebody the next year, and then just a handful of I'm not sure. So my first response to our data is all are welcome. And the second one is this will help that most of you are sitting on a letter and or sitting on the fact that the letter is going to be coming. So this purpose of FA1, and this is kind of grounded in Office of Head Start's approach to the quality of the investment of, we'll call it 13 billion federal dollars, and making sure everybody is spending them wisely. This is taken directly from the materials around FA1. The program approaches processes and systems for implementing the high quality comprehensive services for children and families. The requirements have been laid out in the Head Start program performance standards, that's HSPPS. That's kind of the, I'll call it the Bible of the Head Start Act. And then all of the different uniform guidances that are published. And they're really taking most of this data and they are making inferences and conclusions and defenses of Head Start at national, regional, and community levels as to the effectiveness of the investment, effectiveness of the program. These are the sections. I'll pause here to say, I'm anticipating these sections will remain mostly the same with this new program systems review, but I want to be very clear to say we don't know because it's Office of Head Start and we don't know what they're going to do. Beth and I were just chatting. Are they going to make it efficienter? Not a real word, but could be. Are they going to get rid of things? Are they going to add things? Are they going to combine FA1 and FA2? If you read that program systems review letter, it says something about on-site now. And we thought, okay, we don't know what that is yet. So we're doing a little research to see. But you'll notice everything on here are the main content areas, the main comprehensive service areas that they're coming to check. This is taken right from the previous or existing 25 protocol document. It's got kind of the circle of what goes on in FA1, what they're expecting, just as kind of a visual. I guess the main thing that I really want to emphasize here is, I'm going to pull this up on my notes, having your team ready to signal to the review team that your agency is foundationally ready across the board. So if you took a note here, and I don't have a slide, and if I was the leader of your agency, my main labeling for my leadership team would be, are we foundationally ready? You know, is everything set up the right way so that when they look, we are signaling to them, we have this. Some of the words we use at Acorn are, there's a sophistication to that. Your leaders are using certain language, they're projecting confidence, they're organized, they're ready. When a question is asked, no matter what it is and how it catches them, they field it skillfully. So those are some of the things that I know Beth can speak to today because it was important to her, but that's the part that's not written in the protocol document. It's not written in the performance standards. It's how does your team perform when the review is taken place. And I do want you to imagine that these review teams are going from Head Start agency to agency to agency to agency. So no matter what you say, there's a comparison thing going on. We were just at ABC Head Start. Now we're at XYZ Head Start. And these guys seem a little less ready than ABC Head Start did. And I think that that's something that could be mitigated and that's something that can be prepared for in advance. So that's it for me, except to be a little bit of a facilitator from this point forward. We're going to now move into Beth's sharing, and she's prepared some things, and I'm going to mute myself and pass it to you, Beth. Thanks again for being here.
Thank you, Stuart, and thank you everyone for having me today. I do want to just talk about our experience, and we were talking a little bit before. If I could help in any way, help support another Head Start program, as I have had support from other Head Start programs, I'm more than willing to share the information that we have that could help you. I just wanted to give you an idea about our program. I am from Luzerne County Head Start. We serve 2 counties, Luzerne and Wyoming County. We are rural and we have a suburban area. We are funded for 1,080 children, so we are a larger program. We have 24 sites, 54 classrooms. We have early Head Start, which we serve pregnant moms and children birth to 3 in a home-based setting. We do not have center-based early Head Start. And then we have our Head Start program. We have 617 Head Start children. We have 231 PA pre-K counts, which is a state-funded pre-K counts preschool program. And then we have early Head Start as well, as I have mentioned. Stuart, if you would go to the next slide. So I put this slide in it, and I'll talk a little bit more about this slide when I go through what we did prior to the FA1 review, just to kind of prepare. But this is the sections of your review. And I put those arrows there because they are interconnected in some way or another. We are a comprehensive service. So really, when we started preparing for the review, we were doing our preparation in silo. So we talked through our health services and we talked to the health team, but then quickly realized that some of the individuals that we needed for that protocol were missing from those conversations. So we had to take a step back and really review who needs to be in the conversations, what conversations do we need to have, just as we're all preparing, knowing that our FA1 was due to come. You could go on to the next slide. So before the review, we always have to be prepared for a review. FA1 is typically in year 1 or 2 of your grant cycle. We were in year 1 of our grant cycle. We had ours in May, so we are going into our second year, but we always wanted to be prepared, knowing that it's coming, and we have to be prepared, and our staff have to be prepared. So even before we received the notification letter, we were proactively preparing for this review. I went out to Head Start Gov. I printed out the protocol for the staff, and I just had them start reading through the questions. I then put those questions into a Google document. So I broke them up by section, by area, and I had our staff go in and answer the questions in writing, organizing it by the monitoring area. So we had separate tabs, but it was all just in one spot, so the staff knew where they needed to go. We then, like I said, we went through the protocol in silos. So we met with the health team and went through the protocol. We met with URSIA and went through the protocol. We had them answer the questions both in writing, but then when we were going through our meetings, we had them answer the questions out loud in the group, so that everyone that was in that group was prepared for the monitoring. We did quickly realize that we were spending a lot of time on the questions, just answering the questions. We are a very large program, and there was a lot of information that we wanted to share out. So in our initial run through, just for instance, our area of education, our initial run through was a little over 3 hours, which we knew we only had 90 minutes to go through the whole protocol. So we really had to polish up our responses. And during the first initial preparation, we didn't even go through a data tour. So that was a little over 3 hours in just answering the question. So we really had to polish up. So just as you're preparing, I would say the earlier you start, the better. The more you have practice, the more confident and comfortable your staff are going to be as they're sharing their information clearly and concisely. But also, as a director of the program, I did sit in all of these conversations, and I stopped our staff saying, you're using an acronym that the reviewer may not understand, or you're saying, talking about our curriculum that they might not have that background in knowing what that curriculum is. So I took it from an outside perspective just to listen help our staff navigate through their conversations, because they really are the experts. They know their information, but sometimes we know it too well, and we kind of have to take a step back and realize that someone's maybe hearing about this for the first time. So then after we received our 45-day notification, we immediately got to work again. So I notified both the Board and Policy Council of our dates and our scheduled review. One thing that I did not do with our Board and Policy Council was give them their protocol questions. And at first I thought, I wasn't going to do that, because I really felt that the conversations that we had with both our Board and Policy Council, they had the information that they needed to answer the questions. However, as I reflected on our review, I would do that differently. I would give them the questions, identify who is going to be on those meetings, and go through the protocol with them as well. For instance, I had 3 Policy Council members that participated, and 2 of them responded very quickly and very openly, and 1 just kind of sat back and didn't say much. And I really do feel that if I went through that with them, or if we went through that all together, they would have had more confidence to speak up and talk during that interview. So that is one thing that I would do differently. So again, shortly after we got the letter, we heard from our team lead, and we scheduled our pre-planning meeting. So that was with myself, and during that meeting, it was really just to schedule, our planning meeting, and then she did provide some documentation that our HR department had to fill out with staff qualifications, as well as a list of individuals that were to participate in the interviews. She also wanted the clearances. So we do 3 clearances and mandated reporter training, the dates for all of those clearances. So we did have to do that prior, and we did have to submit that to her the day of the review. Now that may look a little bit different. I don't know if some reviewers ask for that prior, but ours did ask for that the day of the review. So one other thing that I have reflected on is during the preparation and during the scheduling of our meetings, I did not go back to the protocol. We felt we were really prepared, and I did not go back to the protocol to go through the questions and think about who really needed to be on those interviews. So for instance, one of the questions in the area of health was in regard to nutrition. And when I had sent in the list of participants, the nutrition specialist was not included. So I did have to shift and answer that question myself. And that's why I do recommend that as you're compiling the list of participants to send to the review lead, that you do go through the protocol and just note who needs to be there to answer those questions. So the staff that were selected to be a part of the review, we did bring all of them together again. And this probably was about the 3rd or 4th time that we went through the protocol together. We met, we answered that again, as I stated, in writing, and then we also answered that aloud again. When we got our letter, we did go through the protocol out loud while we also were incorporating the data tour. So we really wanted to adjust the time to make sure that it fit into the time that we had for each section. So we facilitated the sessions. We really narrowed those questions down to be concise and clear, but also bringing in some data. Now, with the review, you can only go through it and practice as someone that kind of takes a step back and says, what do we look at? What do we look at on an ongoing basis? What data do we pull? What reports do we pull? Because truly, we really didn't know what she was going to ask us to pull for her. So We did it as kind of a test. Okay, if they're going to ask us about, say, our 90-day health requirements, what reports are you going to pull up? Or if she asks if we had any kids that did not receive their assessment, what report are you going to pull up? So we really were guessing, but we were trying to make this experience as realistic as possible for all of our staff. The staff really, they are the experts. And there was no one else but Luzerne County Head Start staff that could go through that process and come out successful in the end. Our staff know our program, your staff know your program, and they really had the confidence. I knew they had the expertise, but even though we practiced a few times, I did not feel that they had their own self-confidence to be able to do this and get through it. I did, but that I needed them to have the confidence, and I needed them to feel as though they were ready. So I did reach out to Acorn, and I asked them, this was a very quick turnaround, but we were ready, and we had all of the upfront information that we needed to be successful. But I did reach out to them, and we had that external perspective. And I think we've recognized that that external perspective was really what we needed. And someone else coming in to say, okay, well, show me this, or pull that, help me understand. And as a result of that feedback and that process that we went through with Acorn, our staff were really prepared, and they were self-assured that they were going to ace this monitoring. So let me talk just a little bit about the monitoring. So our monitoring did span over 2.5 days. It was conducted only virtually. I know there's some information coming out that it may be virtual and in person, but ours was only virtually. There was one reviewer, so we were assigned a reviewer, and we had her from the first call to the end meeting with myself. So I'll just walk you through the schedule a little bit, just so you have a clear picture of what those days were structured like. And when I did receive the schedule, I did kind of take a step back because I wasn't anticipating that some of the things would have been broken up. But just, and I will provide my email at the end of this information sharing, so that if anybody does want to reach out to me, I'd be happy to answer any questions. But our review started on May 5th. We had 45 minutes with program management, and it was just a discussion with myself and the lead. And then we had program governance, which was about a half an hour. I had my board chair, some other board members, as well as some policy council members participate in that. Our human resource data tour. Now, remember, I did state that all of the information about our staff was sent prior to this review time. So there was some time for our review lead to look at that before this opportunity with human resources. So that took about 60 minutes for the human resource data tour. Health, they did schedule for 90 minutes. So it was a 90-minute conversation. However, we did not get through all of the areas. So they did have health come back the following day. And it was really just a brief conversation just to ask some clarifying questions. So that was day one. On the second day, we had our fiscal data tour, which was 60 minutes. We had our early childhood data tour, which was 90 minutes. We had our URSIA data tour, which was 60 minutes. Family engagement was 60 minutes. And then the last day, she just met with myself and my assistant executive director. And that was just a brief conversation it was about 11 o'clock. So we did not meet before that. And really, that was just a wrap up. I answered any questions that she had, and gave her some additional documentation that she requested, and then our review was completed. So it was only 2.5 days, and it did go by really quickly. And maybe not for my staff, but it did seem to go by very quickly for myself. So each day did consist of focused conversation, and it really was aligned with the protocol. At the end of each day, the reviewer did follow up with me directly. She did ask some clarifying questions just in regard to what some of the staff had described. And then she also requested some additional documentation. The one area that she asked in particular was the area of health. So, all of us, we do have to do a lot in the area of health, and I just don't think we were able to fit it all in the time frame that she had for us. So she did ask for some additional documentation, which I did provide. So I just want to share, as I reflected afterwards, just on some overall experiences and some overall themes that came out throughout all of the conversations with our teams. So some of the things that stood out in the reviewers' questions and the feedback that we had to provide, there was a clear emphasis on how we use our community assessment to drive the decisions that we make. So in every area, that was a part of the conversation. How do we look at our community assessment? How do we know our community assessment? And why do we make those decisions based on our community needs? Also, another theme was around the importance of supervision. And I'm not talking about supervision of children, however, that is important. I am talking about supervision of staff. So ensuring the fidelity of the processes and procedures that we have, that we describe to the review team. How do we ensure that the staff are following through? How do we ensure that the staff are following those processes and procedures and meeting the compliance and doing what they need to do in order to obtain our health information, for example, or do our assessments, or how is our curriculum completed in the classrooms with fidelity? How do we know this? The other area that they asked a lot of questions about was in regard to professional development of our staff. So even our veteran staff, they wanted to know how we support our staff, but then also how do we grow our staff? Even like, as I said, the veteran staff, the staff that have been here, how do we support and grow them? What professional development are we providing? And how do we know that that is what the staff need? So those were kind of some themes that as I reflected back in all of the conversations, even the program governance conversation that the review team or the reviewer had with us. And we did have to answer in every area how we knew we were meeting our community assessment or our community needs, and how our staff were being supervised and monitored. So in our program, we do a lot of reflecting. So we didn't just have the before and during and get it done and move forward with the process. We really wanted to look back at the process that we went through, because we are always looking to improve. We are always looking to not only meet compliance, but have a quality program. So as we were looking back and awaiting the letter, we did meet again and just kind of reflect on how the process was for all of the teams and what we would do going forward from this experience. We did get our letter about 2 weeks after the review, which I was pleasantly surprised. Sometimes it does take a lot longer. And we were going through this process as the regions were changing with the Office of Head Start. So we thought it was going to be a little bit longer. But we received our letter. We did not have any areas of noncompliance, which we were very happy about. But we still wanted to make sure that this was not just a process that we were going through right now. that we would continue to participate in this process really on an ongoing basis. So as we go forward, we are, whether we do this as an agency come together with our leads, I'll say our team leads, or our service areas and the specialists. We have specialists that oversee each area, or we do it together as kind of a group. We will go through the monitoring protocol annually, because as we all know, things do change in Head Start quite frequently, and we want to keep abreast of just being the best that we can. So there's several reasons that we feel that it is important to really circle back annually and continue to go through this process. First, so that we remain prepared. And second, as we planned for this review, we really recognize that this was a cross-training opportunity for our service areas. So we allowed the teams to come together, hear each other, answer the questions that they had to answer, which really helped them understand each other's roles, the processes that they have, and also the type of data that they're collecting and analyzing. This collaborative approach that we have taken will really strengthen our overall understanding and the performance within each of the service areas. Additionally, this process does give us a chance to reassess our program, look at our community assessment, and improve the data that we are collecting and sharing regularly. This process did help us go back to our data, look at our data. We're pulling reports all of the time, but are we really getting to the meat of what they're telling us? And going through this process really helped us understand that our family engagement team may be looking at their reports and monitoring, but that's not being shared with, say, the health team, or that's not being shared with our URSIA department. And we are all so intertwined that it will just strengthen our program overall to continue to go through this process. We're also, out of the review, revamping some internal monitoring tools. And really that's just going to better support the ongoing quality and compliance that we have as a program. As the program director, and I say this to my team all the time, as I was sitting through all of their conversations, I'll say, but they're answering the questions, I truly do value the time that we spend coming together as a team to really talk through what we do. Because we have so many accomplishments as an agency, we have so many accomplishments as a team or as a service area, and that really is a great deal. It's good to talk about, it's good to come together, and the process is really meaningful for the staff to also reflect on what they're doing, recognize what they're doing, and also celebrate the excellent work that's happening across our program. And I know that there's excellent work happening in all different Head Start organizations. And for us in our program, sometimes we don't take the time to celebrate that. So that is what we are going to continue to work on as we have moved out of the FA1 and are preparing to go into this next school year. Next slide, please. And I will answer any questions that you might have about the process or our experience or anything that I had just talked about through our discussion. I don't know, Stuart, if there's any questions.
First I want to say I took 2 pages of notes, and Beth, that was just really wonderful. So if you want to do a little shout out to Beth in the chat, I think she really did a solid. Angela asked a question of everybody in the group. Does anyone use the monitoring protocol as part of your annual self-assessment? And I will piggyback on Angela's answer to say, that's exactly what Beth just described without necessarily labeling it as a self-assessment. She goes, we have these front and center all the time. We're revisiting every year. Beth, are you formally calling it the self-assessment, or are you, yeah?
Yeah, no, we're not formally calling it the self-assessment. We do have a self-assessment process that includes the monitoring protocol, but this is just really something that we do internally with our staff, and really we do use pieces for our self-assessment that we pull out of the protocol. But absolutely.
Well, good. And you got a yes, Angela, from Julie there. I would like to ask you all to honor Beth's time to just participate in a quick experiment. If you would do this, I just dropped it in the chat. She just told a really wonderful story. It had a beginning, it had a middle, it had an end, it had themes, it had pieces, it had descriptions. What stood out to you the most? And if you don't mind just typing that in the chat, I think it'll be a really nice set of data for both me and Beth to look at what landed. What did you go, ooh, I want to write that down. So I'll give everybody just a minute, but if you would please just drop that in the chat. What was something that landed with you, a piece of that story that you're taking with you? Thank you for getting it in there first, Yolanda.
Stuart, if I can, as they're continuing to think, I think that that was one of the best pieces of information that I gave to my staff, and I did see that the staff are the experts. um, and just saying no one in this world, and Stephanie from Acorn has said this, no one else in this world can answer the questions for your program. And she was absolutely right, and I took that information and shared it with my staff, and that is one thing that landed with them and built their confidence. They are the experts in your program. They have the information, they do the work every day, and they truly are the experts, and no one else can answer these questions for your program in a way that your staff can. And I really feel that you should share that with your staff, for their confidence, but really to help them understand that they are valuable and they have the information that you need to get through this review.
I'm so glad you just shared that. It is something that we believe in really strongly here to say, and you hear this buzzword all the time, strengths-based approach, but this is a strengths-based approach. If you pin me down as someone who's worked with Head Starts for now 25 years, this is the truth. All of you are experts in your own programs in your own way. And depending on your leadership, and I'm pointing at everybody on this webinar, by the way, you're leaders for being here. Everyone's busy. So the fact that you added this webinar to your calendar, showed up in your ear, makes you a leader, makes you an agent of change. What could I do differently? What should I be aware of? How can I strengthen my agency? So pat yourself on the back, really. And what Beth's saying to you is, this is an opportunity to do this all in a strengths-based fashion. And I want to summarize some of the things she said one more time for everybody. And they're also in the chat. Thank you for doing this experiment. Start early. And somebody kind of wrote that in here saying, like, gosh, that's important. We don't have to wait till the review. Haley wrote that. You're exactly right, Haley. Start early. Number 2, practice for real. And notice that Beth structured it really safely. And I'm going to summarize those. She put everything in a Google Doc and said, hop in there and write. There's no grades. She's not asking them for a test. She's like, get your thoughts down, get your information down. Then they practiced in silos. Then they practiced together. So from a scaffolding point of view, doing things in order, that was really, really smart and really intentional. The other thing is, if everyone's already running the program, you're just saying what you do. I'm going to pause there carefully. But in a perfect world, and I'm going to say this very clumsily, the PIR is you just press a button and all the data should go in the PIR. We can all go, that's not how it works. But honestly, it could work like that, maybe because you're doing all this stuff and you're just saying total or count. I know it doesn't work that way, and I'm the data guy, so trust me, it's a bad analogy. But Beth's point is, hey, we're doing this work well, and we're on top of it, and we're on it. So all we're really doing is getting ready to tell a story. One of the most valuable things she said to me was, when you're in your double silo number one, ERSI, silo number two, Luzerne County Head Start. So Head Start's kind of double siloed. Service areas are very separate sometimes, and then you're only in your own Head Start. You're not working in a million other Head Start. Thank you, William. I know that it's not that easy. But double siloing is tricky. So you start using these acronyms and language all the time in your own agency, and it'll come out where you're telling the story, and the reviewer's like, I don't know what that is. So it's really important to take the perspective of the reviewer and say, we have the XJ7 and that's what this is. And you tell them, and then it goes from there. I thought that was a terrific thing to do. And then I'll have one more comment before I pass it back. And I would love it if you get some questions in here for Beth. But the other comment is she was very specific in elevating 3 themes. And if you take anything from this webinar, I'm going to tell you that as Acorn, having worked with lots of people to get ready for this, her themes were spot on. Number 1, community assessment, community assessment, community assessment, community assessment. That is a OHS supposed to, and the reviewers come with the, tell us you're doing the thing you're supposed to do. That's that. The second one is, since you're all so organized, how do you really get your staff to do all this stuff you say you do? You definitely need answers for that. And that's not, we have policies and procedures written and we do pre-service training. We tell them all at pre-service and then they just do it, right, Beth? there need to be supervisory mechanisms to say we do a combination of looking at data, meetings, follow-up, coaching, mentoring, check-ins, everything that you do, they're going to want to know that you walk the walk that you are saying you do. I'm going to say something from my experience. The stronger you are at that, the more they're going to ask, well, that sounds lovely. How are you really getting them to do it? Do you agree with that, Beth? That the better you are at saying how great you are, they're going to be like, but really, is everybody in FCE doing that? Is all your health people doing that? Are they really looking at all these wonderful things you set up? The last one has to do with a new impetus, professional development. Before everything went bananas in January and February and March, last fall, the performance standards were very carefully revised. And there was a huge impetus on wellness and professional development and management and getting your leaders what they need to ensure a good program and that there's wellness in staff and retention. They put a ton of stuff in there. It's kind of gotten a little bit blurry by everything. I'm happy to hear that the new FA1 and probably this program systems review protocol are really going to emphasize PD. What classes do they take? Where do they go? Show me all the things you bought. No. They're going to say, what's your plan to support your staff? Is that right, Beth? And
yeah,
you can expand on that last piece of it, because I'm curious more details about what they went for in there.
Yeah, they didn't just want to know how we were onboarding or how we were making sure that our staff had their annual training. It really was about the support piece and the professional development piece. And by professional development, in my words, it's not giving them a webinar and having them go watch it. It's, what do your staff really need? How do you know that? And then what are you doing to provide it? And that support piece, not just for our new staff, but also our veteran staff. So how are you supporting staff that have been there? How are you supporting your management and leadership team? There was questions from your management down, and there was also questions about support and professional development for all different expertise.
I'm really happy that you summarized it in that way, and it's kind of a self-serving transition in a minute into some of the things that we offer at Acorn around professional development. But I do want to say, notice the experiment we just ran was asking you all to drop something in the chat. This is a very powerful way to crowdsource how you did. So when you're doing your own professional development, I would encourage you to say at the end of pre-servicing and everything, if you have a way to harness this, you can have posters on the wall with Sharpies. You can have it in a virtual room like this if you're doing it virtually, but saying what stuck out to you, what did you like, is a really powerful way to gauge how you did. And now Beth can go, oh gosh, look, there was a little of everything from my story in the chat. This is also a pedagogy. That's a word that means a method and practice of teaching. This is something that we use in all of our Acorn professional development things that are on Zoom. We use the chat like nuts, and I'm looking in the participants here. Lots of you have been in our data literacy credential and programs like that. If you haven't, it's just like this: stories, chat, breakout rooms. It's a very, very high quality thing. Beth made reference to going on to headstart.gov. Beth, you went on there and got the protocol. It's going to be the same thing when you now have this program systems review. Yes, they will drop documents onto the website, and there will be something just like this to go fetch. And notice that after you fetch it, Beth operationalized it right away. She blasted it out. She also told 2 stories. One, I got all my content leads working on it. Next time, I would do that same process or something close to it with the policy council and the board, especially because she had that inconsistency where 2 of the people were kind of all going for it and the 3rd person was a little passive. She goes, maybe if I kind of replicated the same process a little bit, maybe in a different way, it would kind of even out. Did I say that right, Beth? The 3 of them, that's what you're seeking, was that consistency? Great.
Yes. Yep.
All right, terrific. Last, to wrap up, and I'm going to make good use of everybody's time, in that vein of professional development, coming up, and I know it's been summer, and I know we're coming out of what Beth and I are calling an unprecedented 6 months of Head Start since January, with challenges that nobody's ever seen or faced before. So I just wanted to start by acknowledging that truth. And always a good time to professionally develop your staff. So our manager skills certificate starts August 6th. That's next week. It's 1 workshop a month, August, September, October, November, December. Real managing in the real trenches. It's great for center directors, site supervisors, content leads, but it's things like better meetings, communicating confidently, things that tie right into this review process, building a culture of motivation. And the whole idea is after you take the workshop, you take some of those things that month and start installing it into your daily management practices, and it fits in your bandwidth and it's not overwhelming. Data Camp is one of our most popular programs. It's 2 days, 3 hours a day on Zoom, and it's just really good, solid data things, and really does support the FA1 process by giving you some master language and a big jolt of confidence. Data Analyst Certificate for anybody who wants to export data from their core databases, whether it is GoEngage or COPA or Child Plus or anything, and turn it into an awesome Excel sheet to wow your friends and neighbors. And then there's a data literacy credential. That's through the Academy at NHSA. I'm the lead instructor. That starts September 16th. It's 8 weeks, and it's just really wonderful. There's been over 600 Head Start managers and directors who have completed that professional credential. Like Beth said, we also help with this. I want to characterize how we help with this. We help because you're ready. We don't help because you're not ready. We help because you're ready. So the way that I love Beth described it, she goes, we did the Google Docs, we practiced, we did practice with each other, we cross-trained, we folded our community assessment, and everybody goes, okay. To their immense credit, they wanted to have a rehearsal. So we were the rehearsal. And we were able to very quickly, in a strengths-based way, identify some opportunity gaps. Notice my language. There's a little bit of a gap there where you can strengthen it. That's a wonderful opportunity. And I think Beth characterized it saying, that was great. So the focus area 1 or 2, mock interviews and data tours will kind of put you through a little bit of a dress rehearsal, real lean, real quick. We do have 2 more webinars coming up. Next Tuesday, if you want to learn more about the data literacy credential, we have over 180 people signed up for this thing. It's free. It's just a half an hour, and you get a feel for what that class is all about. And then we have a free webinar similar to this format where we're going to emphasize how to use data to tell your program's story. Both of these are free. Nancy is just putting all this stuff in the chat for you. It'll also be in the follow-up email. If you would help me, if you could give a quick shout out to Beth for her graciously volunteered time in the chat, I would love that, because I sure enjoyed listening to her tell the story of her agency and her process. I see her clap, Morgan, and I appreciate that. And Beth, really, you kind of epitomized so many Head Start directors saying, we're all in this together. We're all going through the same process separately, and whatever we can do to share about that, the better. And I sure enjoyed listening to you. You were articulate and detailed and so helpful. So thank you for being here, and thank you for being here, everybody, today. We appreciate your time. If you have any questions, you can stick on this webinar afterwards, or you can drop it in the chat. And Beth, if you could stick around for a minute to see if everybody sticks around, that'd be great. Otherwise, thank you for the thank yous in the chat. Beth, any last thing you want to say?
No, just thank you. And if anyone has any questions after, my information was put in the chat, so feel free to reach out.
Which is so gracious of you. I think that's wonderful. All right, thank you, everybody. Thanks for being here, and good luck with all your programs, with your pre-service, and with the start of your program years. And hopefully we see you at an upcoming Acorn Learning event.